I'm going to be making veggie nuggets. And I had everything all separated so it looked nice and you could figure out how much of each thing to put in. And somehow I shook it up. So it's about today a third of carrots, a third of potato, and a third of chickpea flour. And then to that I'm going to be adding quite a bit of broccoli pulp. And then I put 2 heads of garlic, quite a lot of nutritional yeast, like maybe 2 or 3 cups of nutritional yeast, quite a lot. And then some chili powder, cumin, salt and pepper. That might be it. And James is having a burger, a veggie burger. And it's a mushroom. I fried up some cremini mushrooms to go along with it this time.
Right here, mushroom shape there.
I'm going to cover that up for a minute.
Like an axe. So cremini mushrooms, and then you've dealt with what go into these burgers.
Well, different things sometimes, right?
Yeah, but these are the ones that we've been eating recently. So go back and refer if you want to find out.
And I've been eating bread lately. It makes my fingers sore and stuff, but it's easy and I'm tired.
Yeah, she was camped out for quite a while today. And we moved some. We thought there might have been a risk of frost last night.
There was a risk of it, and I was going to water the plants anyway, so I thought, well, I may as well cover them up. So,
and then she uncovered them. And that was late last night for you. Not late for most people.
No, late for me, because I'm up very early.
6 o'clock or
so,
yeah.
I'm eating baba ganoush. I made baba ganoush this morning.
So is there anything of a topical nature you wanted to talk about?
My baba ganoush isn't as good this year because my fire pit is still covered with a tree. And I've been meaning to get a chainsaw and get after that.
Have you shown your house at home what that tree is like? I think you went down there once.
I should.
One of these days, man.
Maybe I can show you while I'm chopping it up. Did we hear it when it came down?
We heard it coming down, didn't we?
You weren't even here.
Yeah. Well, you heard it.
You know, I heard a noise, but it didn't seem that big.
And
so
it didn't even break the telephone wires or whatever.
No, it did pull them down though.
It did. Very impressive. Oh, and the reason for that is these wires were kind of stretchy. Of course, the branches held the tree up. They trunkled the tree. Didn't come all the way down to the ground. They'll see when you show that to them. Tune in. It was a big spruce tree, correct? One of Pauline's 2 big spruce trees. So yeah, they're apparently up in the north. We've been in Grand Prairie. They're up about 100% capacity. ICUs. And they've been moving to increase capacity, and so they were holding it for Alberta right about 88, 87, 86 is actually going down. In the north, 100%, so I guess they're having to move them up. They're just letting them drop.
I don't know what they're going to do. There's a lot of wealthy farmers up there that travel a lot.
They might be traveling to another hospital is what you're paying?
Now they might be.
They might be traveling to an early grave, actually.
Yeah.
If they were doing anti-masking kind of stuff. Frankly. Someone doesn't have their 2 vaccines and don't have a good medical reason. I don't care about religious reasons. They've got religious reasons. They should cut themselves off from mankind.
If you are a wealthy farmer around the Peace Country, well, you're probably one of my relatives, because French side of my family, very big, and there. So, please, stop mixing. You can't be socializing with anybody right now, and you can't be traveling.
And get your vaccine. You're doing everyone a favor, most of all yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know what the anti-vaxxers are thinking when they're going around doing the demonstrations, practically hugging each other.
They won't be. What's happening in the Peace Country, I think, is a lot of wealthy farmers, and they have big families, and they are visiting their families, and their families will come from elsewhere or whatever, and then they travel. They're wealthy, so they're traveling, and they could be going to Mexico, bringing back whatever, going to wherever. It's common, you know. A lot of farmers up there, this is what they do, you know, when the harvest comes in, then they go travel, right? They go south.
Yeah. The winters are tough. This Delta variant, Modi variant, sorry. The policy is going to be to name the stuff after the politicos who are responsible for its origination and its spread. There's nothing to take for granted. The Modi variant, very dangerous. COVID Mark 1 was dangerous enough. And if we don't put our foot on the neck of COVID, it's going to be other variants, not just one more. They're just going to make people be crying for the Delta variant. Please come back. But those days will be long gone. Unless we really lock up. I don't see what's going to happen.
No.
The luckiest people prepare their luck. So today is Canada's first Truth and Reconciliation Day.
Is it? Oh, and another thing that's happening is there's a lot of people who genuinely believe that they have superior genes and they will live. While this thing is a cleansing thing, it's a natural selection thing.
Maybe that's what they're thinking. They're definitely acting.
They think that they're superior somehow, so they're going to outlive it.
Without taking proper precaution.
The thing is nobody has superior genes. Some people have genes that are better suited to survive one thing than another. Like there are I was reading that blood type book. They were saying that certain blood types are less likely to die from flu than others. You know, so I think it's my universal donor blood comes in handy for that. I think it was type O that was less likely to die from flu. So there could be a bunch of type O's out there that are thinking, yeah, I'm just going to walk through this like it's nothing, not worry about it, and it'll be the other people who fall. And there's too many people on the planet anyway, which is true. There are too many people on the planet.
Way too many.
Way too many. But
there were 5 billion here in 1992. 9 years later, 6 billion. It's a billion extra in 9 years.
If you're thinking along those lines, then you shouldn't go to the hospital.
Stay away from the hospital. If you don't.
Yeah, if you're not masking and stuff like that, and you're thinking, oh, I'm superior and I'm not going to die from this thing. Okay, you've made your decision.
And then
stay with it. You know, because if you then find out, oh, I guess my genes aren't superior, well, you should let yourself die from it, because you were willing to spread it to other people and let them die, thinking that they were inferior.
Did.
So, anyway, people, what do you do?
That's what Boris Johnson should have done. Instead of hogging a ventilator and letting someone else die.
And, well, a lot of those people, too, they're happy to go out and collect new variants, bring them back. Because they don't want as many people around them. They want to try to help out cleansing the world of too many people. Okay.
No, you don't want that. That's an onion. That's not good for you, girl.
Got a little bit of beet in there, too. I thought I just had broccoli in this one, but apparently no.
Anyway.
Watching for this. Anyway.
Truth and Reconciliation Day.
Oh. Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
Let's try in the future to make it about conciliation, not reconciliation. Reconciliation suggests that there are two sides to this fight. Now there are a lot of people who go around saying, talking about cycle of violence, and there was something like a cycle of violence with indigenous people, but it was being driven by one foot. Have you ever noticed that, folks out there? That you can
pedal a bicycle with one foot.
And so often, really, the cycle of violence, referred to by the faux gauchers, or the faux gauchers, whatever you want to call them. I know you don't want to call that yourselves that, but that's what you are. You know, look in the mirror once you finish throwing up. No, you wouldn't. You've got such bad taste. But recognize what you are. So here's the deal. Yeah, you know, with Hitler, with the Jews, cycle of violence, it just kept on going and going and going. Wham, wham, wham. And he was just generating with one foot. When it came to the Nazis and the commies, that was more like a cycle of violence. And really, to be perfectly frank, Hitler copied so much of his shtick from the Social Democrats. It really, and then, you know, the Nazis didn't start until after the German Revolution, until after the success, for a while. A couple of generations, a little bit more, of the start of the success of communism, what was called, erroneously, Soviet Union. It was really anti-Soviet Union. And so, you know, many cases, Muslims vis-a-vis Christians, it was a cycle of violence being driven basically with one foot for years, centuries. Muslims and Jews, well, that's just, you know, there's going to have to be, like in Palestine, there's going to have to be truth and, conciliation, not reconciliation. It's Muslims and Arabs have been hammering Jews ever since the time of Muhammad. He killed in one day, according to the Muslims' own statements, 600 to 900 Jews, wiped out a whole tribe, all the men in the tribe, which means I guess the kids could have survived, could have regenerated that tribe, but they were sent off to slavery. So, you know, the male kids. So a little bit of a problem there. That looks like, in modern terms, genocide. I'm not one to hold up a grudge from the past, but the important thing is to understand that that was not good behavior, and you don't do it anymore. You're hearing that, ISIS? At any rate, what it should be is truth and conciliation. I want to make it clear. I've been told by people who seem to have done research, starting with my mom, that I'm part indigenous ancestry. Show, would you hold that against me? Maybe you would. A faux gaucher, you would. At any rate, I want some truth. Just give me some truth, like John Lennon sang in 1971 on his album.
That's enough of
Imagine.
that.
Just give me some truth. I want the truth, the whole truth. Oh, this is the tough one for the faux gauchers. Nothing but the truth. In other words, someone I quite respect was saying recently about calling what happened to resident schools a genocide. I was saying, well, you know, numbers have got to go down for it to be a genocide. The numbers of indigenous people in Canada have been going up since 1920, according to stats that I've seen. Now maybe they've been cooked up. Maybe someone is cooking the books. I don't think so. Going up since 1920. Well, that's 100 years or so. Doesn't look like a genocide to me. And
well,
it shouldn't look like a genocide to anyone. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that there were a lot of things that were, you know, a lot of Native people were not treated well by the settlers.
Yeah, I think the settler colonialist is the
fact of the matter
clumsy term
is
that's used nowadays.
America was going to be settled. People were coming in. There were too many people elsewhere. It's not, you know, we have this idea that, oh, Columbus discovered America and it was just an accident and whatever. And had he not, then things would have just went on as they had forever or whatever. And it's like, it's unrealistic to think that other people hadn't discovered America before. I mean, in fact, I mean, what about the Polynesians and stuff, right? I mean, they really traveled around. And the fact of the matter is,
apparently Magellan, whose crew were the first to go around the world, used Polynesian pilots.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know about really. That might be a full gauche lie, but
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. And Captain Cook, quite a bit later, apparently did the same thing as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if the faux gauchers were lying about it.
Well,
they might have used them for, you know, like in particular island groups, but going dead across the sea, it's hard to say. And Magellan going the other way, like when we started using Polynesians, you know, he made it to the Philippines before he was whacked. And you know, like when did they first start interacting with Polynesians? I'm a little skeptical. You know, they might have used them.
Maybe the Christians were a little bit too gung-ho about trying to save the souls of the native people, but
You're talking about the residence schools.
yes.
Well, it wouldn't just be saving the souls. It would be trying to prepare them for, in a way that they thought was appropriate for modern life or something like
Yes.
that. It was thoroughly inappropriate, and apologies should be made,
Yeah.
and reparations should be made to the individuals who were affected, and many are still alive,
But
so
I
they
think
should be
it was
compensated.
probably, I think it was well intended. I don't think that there was any kind of maliciousness involved with that.
Basically, it wouldn't. I mean, the Catholic Church has been vilified, for the resident
As
schools,
much as like I'm
but
not
and vilified
Catholic or anything, I just don't believe that they.
quite rightly, but inappropriately. In other words, saying they're committing a genocide. They had no. If they decided to whack the kids that were in their schools, who would they have to be in the Catholic Church? It's never really been in the Catholic Church's interest to whack off. To whack.
To whack off.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
you get some of these.
Because they don't want to spill their seed on the soil.
Yeah, exactly.
So they
But
can whack
to get rid of these the various people, it's not their history. Their history has been to allow a certain degree of syncretism, and there's been horrible things like the destruction of the codices found in Mexico and stuff like that initially, but apparently the guy who ordered it was kind of operating on his own initiatives, kind of initiative we don't want to see.
But
And the Catholic Church itself wasn't that thrilled about what he was doing.
I just have to say that there's a lot worse out there than
Even now. Like the People's
Then-
Republic of China.
Than the people who settled here. There's a lot worse out there.
Pretty well
And-
every place in the world.
If the
Including
people
the
who
People's
settled
Republic of
hadn't
China and
settled
Russia.
Here, the others would have settled here. And
Yeah, that's
there
something
would
that's
be no
just-
native people left here.
Someone, was doing this imagine thing. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't encourage censorship, and maybe not that thrilled about self-censorship. Like, I don't want to encourage it too much in others, but maybe you can just imagine a world where you faux gauchers don't use imagine.
Yeah.
Just try to imagine a world like that, and maybe how much better it would be, because you could actually get involved with things that really matter. But I think it was some individuals going, imagine the new world if it had never been. Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But it would have been. Eventually,
There's no
someone coming from somewhere
way that it
would
wouldn't have been.
Coming from Africa, or coming from more likely from China or Japan or something like that. And then what would have happened? Oh, the old world diseases would have got loosed. And like when we look at some of the greatest conquerors, and they really weren't great individuals.
No.
There's Alexander the Great. I guess he was a whitey. But, so he wasn't that great. But there was Genghis Khan. I gather he wasn't a whitey. And
Very
they
much
say the
not
Mongol Empire was, what, 1/6 of the, no, 1/6 of the world's surface? Something like that. I think that would be overstated. But it was the biggest empire of sorts, up until the time of the British Empire, I guess.
I don't know
British
if you
or
want
Russian
that,
Empire.
Angel.
And who else?
I didn't put onions.
Tamerlane. Oh, he's another Mongol. I guess he was a person of color. Yeah. Who are some of the other big conquerors? Attila the Hun. Oh, you get different accounts. Some people say the red hair and stuff like that, but I don't think he was. I don't think he was a person of none color, shall we say? How about Omar, the second successor to Muhammad, the second Khalifa or Caliph, however you want to mispronounce it. Yeah, I think he was a person of color. They say he was an Arab. Yeah, you know, like, and the people that probably would have been most likely to take over would have been the Muslims, actually. Because they'd made it to the Philippines, you know. So, you know, they weren't that brilliant sailors, not like the Polynesians and things like that, but eventually, with the help of the Polynesians or whatever, they would have made it to the New World. And I don't think you'd see medicine bundles around.
No, they would have all been destroyed for sure.
Well, you know, it would have taken a while. I mean, Islam is still taking its time in Indonesia and stuff like that, and it's been more than 500 years, but not much more. So you can see what's happened, and I guess where to look for is let's say Mindanao, and they've got a little theoretically a separatist movement. It's a Salafist movement there, I gather, and it would be interesting, I suspect, to see how tolerant they are of various tribal, or whatever you want to call them, pagan practices. They probably have been, until recently, fairly tolerant and kind of syncretic, but no, I don't think it would have worked out well for the natives, or indigenous people, whatever you want to call them, here in the New World, in the long run. It would have been worse. Same level of destruction from diseases. And then you would have had Islam as opposed to Christianity. And you can kid yourself. You know, we're talking about truth and reconciliation, or truth and reconciliation. Go around saying that Islam was more tolerant, for example, in Spain, than Christianity was before and after. But here, and you know, people who say that so often quote or cite the example of Moses Maimonides. Wow, Jewish philosopher, came out of this multicultural tolerant society, but for some reason or another he escaped Spain. And you know, it's significant perhaps he didn't go to Christian controlled territory, but it is significant, you know, like he went to Egypt. It's significant that he went to a place where the Sunnis were not in control. As I recall, the Fatimids, the Shiites, were in control. He was wanting to escape the Sunnis there. Not to say the Shiites have a long and glorious tradition of tolerance. You only have to look at the way they've, when they've been in power in Iran since 1979, what they've been like. But here's what Maimonides said. So get your notebooks and pens ready, faux gauchers. This is real history, not the stuff that you imagine. You've done enough of that for all time, really. Moses Maimonides said they, I'm not sure if he's referring to the Muslims who took over Spain in two waves after the Arabs, or the Arabs and Muslims, whatever. I'm taking it as all those three included. He said they have treated us, and we read that as the Jews, they've treated us worse than any group has treated us. That's the Egyptians,